Welcome, everyone. It's 12 o'clock. I know people will start to trickle in as they do. But I guess I will share my screen and start the introduction. So I'm Amber Rowden. I'm the community storyteller at Rainforest Alberta. We have Bridget Legault with us, who's the community manager at Rainforest Alberta here in Calgary. So we also have a group up in Edmonton. And they're a steering committee, a volunteer group that runs Rainforest in Edmonton. So you can follow along with them at Rainforest YEG, and then follow along with the Calgary crew at Rainforest AB on social media. Sorry, I'm just trying to hide my screen. It's been a while. I'm trying to get used to this again. Anyway, if you're new to Rainforest Alberta to Lunch Without Lunch, this is our weekly gathering where we get to connect and meet new people in the ecosystem and tech and innovation, entrepreneurship, and get to hear what's happening in tech and innovation and all those people that are working within it. So if you are new, please share an emoji on the screen, introduce yourself in the chat. We want to get to know you. And if you've been around for a while, please also introduce yourself in the chat. It's all about connections and getting to know one another. So I'd like to start off with a land acknowledgement. So in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation, Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. And if you're coming from somewhere else in the province, in the country, or in the world, please share your land acknowledgement and reconciliation with us in the chat. And also share with me and Bridget if there's something you would like to share, like a land acknowledgement at the beginning of Lunch Without Lunch, or on reconciliation. We would love to have you share that with us at Lunch Without Lunch and beyond that in the Rainforest community and in the movement. So I'm going to introduce a video. So Rainforest Alberta, we're a community of innovators, doers, dreamers, working together to grow together, to build new ideas, and to support each other on our entrepreneurial journeys.
What does it take to realize an idea, or for a seed to sprout? At Rainforest Alberta, we know the answer is rooted in trust. Traditionally, Albertans have cultivated their ideas in established systems. Inputs that don't fit these systems are weeded out. Opportunities for growth are missed. But now, Albertans want a dynamic landscape that can evolve organically, like a rainforest. At Rainforest Alberta, we believe a culture of trust is the fertile soil where ideas grow. Our budding innovation ecosystem is a network of relationships pulling each other up as they push forward in their own field. Trust breaks down barriers. An open, inclusive network increases collaborative innovation. Successful breakthroughs inspire new ideas. A cycle begins. Rainforest Alberta is a movement to amplify trust by cultivating honesty, inclusion, and accountability. How? Our social contract holds us accountable to demonstrate trust across the province. We meet to have honest conversations around collaboration. This leads to more inclusive spaces for everyone to fearlessly build new ideas together. By raising the standard of trust, Alberta's ideas, talent, and resources can be evergreen. Visit rainforestab.ca to sign the social contract and start growing together.
So we have 6 pillars to guide our conversations and actions, and not all are weighted equally. So in any ecosystem, the right balance is crucial. And we measure these each year through our scorecard assessment. This year, we're doing a pan-provincial scorecard. So usually Calgary has a separate scorecard assessment and Edmonton has a different scorecard assessment, but we're bringing the two together. So there'll be different results, but it'll be across the province so we can really get that data of how each ecosystem is doing. And so at Rainforest, we're heavily focused on culture, which is weighted at 30%. That's building a culture of trust, of diversity, inclusion, and equity, building ideas and like minds, and then 20% are leaders, so people that we look up to in the ecosystem. 15% are resources, partners that we work with, and programs that are happening within the city. 10% are engaged activities such as Lunch Without Lunch and all the events and activities that are happening within the city. 15% is policy and infrastructure, so more like government and funding, and 10% are role models, so people that you look up to and that are doing things that you look up to. And so tips to making the most out of Lunch Without Lunch: introduce yourself in the chat, what you're working on, what you're looking for, what you can offer. More so also like about yourself, and we just want to get to know each other and make those connections, because that's really where the magic can happen. Connect with individuals through direct messaging. Put your camera on. It's always great to see everyone's faces, especially in a virtual setting. Ask questions that lead with curiosity rather than offering advice. So after our speaker presents today, you have a chance to ask them questions, and it's always great to lead with that curiosity. You can ask questions and connect on our digital community, and I'll explain about the digital community in a couple slides. But that's also a great place to enhance your curiosity and knowledge sharing as well. And you can check out #lunch notes for a capture of today's chat, which is on our Slack channel. And our recordings are always posted on YouTube. So if you missed a session, you can always check them out. I've been away, so our sessions are not quite up there yet, but I'm catching up. So they will all be on there. So you can check them out very soon, I promise. But past sessions are on there that you can check out. So the social contract, our values that we live, work, and play by. It's basically being a good person. They're how we help each other grow and learn, and they're what we follow in the rainforest. So we ask, when you are a part of our community, that you sign the social contract, that you use these values in the work that you're doing, in the conversations that you're having, in the companies that you're building, and pay it forward as one of the contract values in the work that you're doing. If you have any questions about the social contract, please feel free to reach out to me and Bridget. That QR code will take you right to the social contract, and I'll also throw the link in the chat as well. And then our digital community, which is powered by Inkly. So if you're curious about anything, about tech, about entrepreneurship, about innovation, about resources that are in the ecosystem, how to navigate the ecosystem, because there's so much, where do I go? How do I start a company? How do I, what programs are available for me? This is a great place to ask those questions and get tacit knowledge that you can't find anywhere else. And I know a lot of people ask me, well, I can just ask ChatGPT, but ChatGPT doesn't give you that direct connection with people that are actually working in industry that can give you these connections and answers that you're looking for. And it's not just people in Calgary, it's across Alberta. So it gives you even more diverse perspectives. So if you scan that barcode, which I highly recommend that you do, that'll take you to our digital community. And I'll also throw the link in the chat as well. So I believe that is it for me. And I'm very excited to announce our guest speaker for today. So Kara from the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub is here to talk to us today and share all about the work that she does at WEKH. So I will pass it on to you, Kara.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amber. Hi, everyone. Sorry if I seem a little frantic. I was just explaining that I just walked in the door. I had some car troubles this morning, so it's been a little bit of a whirlwind, but super excited to be here today sharing some information on the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, my role there, some of the research that we've recently had come out, and just ways that we connect the ecosystem and are working to drive women's entrepreneurship and innovation throughout Alberta and also all across Canada. So I do have some slides I'm going to share. I will provide all of the slides and links and everything afterwards, but feel free to take screenshots. I know you mentioned we'll have a Q&A session at the end, but if you do have a burning question throughout, please feel free to put your hand up. I'm always happy to take a question. But where did my share screen button go? There it is. Okay. Is everyone able to see that okay? Amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so as I was saying, hi, my name is Kara Thorvaldson, and I am one of the program managers at the Diversity Institute, co-leading the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. Now, Before I get started, I just want to thank Rainforest for having me here today to speak to all of you about the work that we're doing at WEKH and just hosting these sessions, bringing folks together to learn from one another and connect in the ecosystem, because that is such a key part of growth in entrepreneurship and innovation, is harnessing our network. So truly appreciate this opportunity and you holding this space for us today. I'd also like to acknowledge that the work that WEKH does at our head office takes place on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. I myself, all of our partners across Canada similarly gather on traditional territory of many Indigenous nations who have cared for these lands since time immemorial. I also wanted to express that I myself am an Indigenous woman. That was hard to get out for some reason today. Maybe I need more coffee, but I'm originally from Treaty 1 territory in Manitoba, and I'm very grateful and honored to be a guest living and playing on the lands of Treaty 7 here in Calgary, Alberta. So it's my pleasure today to introduce you to the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, also referred to as WEKH. Just a short agenda. But WEKH is a national network dedicated to sharing research and resources on women's entrepreneurship in Canada, and we're comprised of 10 hubs located all across the country. We also have a network of over 250 partners and organizations supporting women's entrepreneurship, and we use an evidence-based approach to create an inclusive ecosystem and share about programs and organizations that support diverse women entrepreneurs. This includes Indigenous women, Black women, newcomer women, women with disabilities, just to name a few of the groups that we have done research on and work to support. We collect and share data from across the ecosystem about what works for whom in order to replicate and scale best practices. And we also promote and support capacity building and training, which I'll touch on a little later in the presentation. So WEKH plays a key role in the women entrepreneurship strategy and works very closely with the federal government. WES, or the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy, WES, was launched in 2018 and represents a nearly $7 billion investment and commitment to increase women's entrepreneurship and their access to financing, talent, networks, and expertise that they need to start up, scale, and grow their businesses, and also access new markets. WEKH is led by the Diversity Institute, as I mentioned, which is housed at Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly Ryerson University. And it's a network of researchers and key stakeholders that leverage the research and information that we gather to inform policy and practice. We're working to share knowledge and also drive inclusion across the innovation ecosystem by shaping policy and changing stereotypes. So this slide shows you that we work with an ecosystem approach that looks at government policy, challenging stereotypes, as I mentioned, and just a holistic picture of all the key players throughout the ecosystem. So not only the activities of intermediaries, such as the entrepreneur or the support organization, but we also look at the activities and the impact of organizations such as financial institutions and post-secondaries, among a few. But really taking that whole level approach and look at what's happening through the ecosystem and who's doing what to support women entrepreneurs at all stages of their journey. So we have the individual level, the organizational level, and the societal level, and we're working on all the different pieces coming together to present the barriers. And we're working on using the understanding of those barriers and challenges to change policies and reshape stereotypes throughout the ecosystem. So WEKH recently launched our State of Women's Entrepreneurship Report 2023, which is our annual report. We've put one out for the last few years, and I'm really excited about this one. I mean, I'm excited about all of them, but there are some really exciting statistics that's come out of this most recent report, which I will provide a link to. You can read further on our website, but here are just some of the key highlights from that report. So we see that 15.4% of small and medium enterprises were majority owned by women in 2017. And that's encouraging data because through a variety of sources and the data that we've seen through a number of SMEs, that the majority owned women businesses is growing. And during our report launch, our director, Dr. Wendy Souquier, shared that in 2022, we now know that at least 18% of businesses in Canada are majority owned by women. And we know that small, medium enterprises account for 99.8% of those. So this is huge growth compared to that 15.4% that was in 2017, and also growth from 16.8% in 2020. Especially considering the additional impacts that COVID-19 had on women in business and women entrepreneurs. It's very promising and really exciting to see that we've continued to grow and close that gender gap in this space. We also know through our research that the businesses are usually smaller in size and they're underfinanced and most likely to be unincorporated. Furthermore, self-employed women are more likely than men to be in service-producing sectors, with 67% in health and social assistance services and 61% in educational services. We also know that less than 10% of self-employed women work in construction, manufacturing, and financing. And when we think about where our investments in entrepreneurship are going, they're typically going into those spaces where women are underrepresented. So this is something that support organizations and financial institutions really need to think about when we're creating wraparound supports or providing funding for women entrepreneurs. So in this figure, we can see that only 13.1% of SMEs are majority owned by women, whereas 53.3% of SMEs are majority owned by men. So this large gap demonstrates the importance in the work that we're doing to create policies and programs that promote equity and inclusion for women entrepreneurs. And we also know that there's regional differences. So nationally, 6.3% of women across Canada were self-employed in 2021. And Alberta is really leading the way because in 2021, they saw the greatest proportion of self-employed women at 7.4%. which is a huge jump from our lowest proportion of self-employed women, which is in Newfoundland and Labrador at 2.9%. So really great news for Alberta. We have a lot of amazing women entrepreneurs and innovators in this province that are really leading the way for the rest of Canada. So we do take an intersectional perspective to identify barriers for diverse women entrepreneurs. And the gaps that they face within the ecosystem. I myself previously worked on the Indigenous program at WEKH for the last 3 years before transitioning into my role as program manager. So I had a lot of opportunities to work on this specific research as it pertains to Indigenous women. However, this isn't just exacerbated for Indigenous women. We know that other diverse women, such as Black women, newcomer women, and women with disabilities also experience higher levels of barriers and challenges and unique barriers that aren't faced by other entrepreneurs. This intersectional lens also allows us to identify different resources and capacities women entrepreneurs bring to the table and how us as an ecosystem can better enable them to achieve their pursuits. We also know that Indigenous women entrepreneurs are growing at twice the rate of their non-Indigenous counterparts, and they're more likely to export than non-Indigenous entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, legislation such as the Indian Act prevents those from securing loans from financial institutions using property that's owned by the band. This is just one of the few additional barriers that we've identified in the report. And then this combined with the fact that many Indigenous women entrepreneurs live in rural areas and may lack access to infrastructure such as broadband internet. So this is just an example of why it's important that we create and design programs with the specific diverse women entrepreneurs in mind, because they play such an integral role in the ecosystem, and we need to be able to recognize the specific barriers and challenges that they're encountering in their work as well. This is just some more statistics on Indigenous women entrepreneurs from our report. As I said, they're growing at twice the rate of their non-Indigenous counterparts. We also know that they're more likely to be motivated to helping their community when it comes to their business and bringing cultural values into their business practices. Rural women entrepreneurs. We do have a lot of rural women entrepreneurs here in Alberta as well, and we know that they have some of the highest rates of self-employment. We know that women comprise approximately 30% of farm operators, yet they continue to be underrepresented in management and ownership positions in agriculture, and they represent only 25% of agriculture managers and 29% of business owners. We also know that only 12% of national and provincial agriculture associations have a woman on their board, chair, or as president. So we know that they're typically, rural women entrepreneurs are often neglected and overlooked in comparison to their urban counterparts. And on top of that, such as with the Indigenous women entrepreneurs I mentioned, they may have limited access to some basic infrastructure, such as that broadband internet. We know that only 39% of rural households have access to broadband internet service, which, considering how connected we are in this post-COVID world and using Zoom all the time to do business and connect with one another, we could see how that could be such a barrier to achieving your success as an entrepreneur. So investing in women entrepreneurs is important because it allows for jobs to be created and maintained. It allows for high growth firms and also increased sales revenues, for example. Here we can also note that broader socioeconomic measures are needed, and we can look into ways in which women entrepreneurs have an impact in relation to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. If you aren't familiar with the SDGs, they are available on the UN's website. I'm happy to include a link after if anyone has questions. But yeah, if you go to the UN's website, you should be able to find them quite readily. They also have impact on social outcomes and inclusion organizations, for example. Oh, sorry. I thought I did that slide already. It's okay. So in Canada, most women-owned businesses are small and medium enterprises, and they play an integral role in Canada's social development and economic growth. So it's estimated that women-owned businesses employ over 1.5 million people and have contributed approximately $150 billion to the economy. So we know that they have the potential to bring an additional $150 billion to the GDP by 2026, which we can see not including women entrepreneurs in our strategy or in our investments means that we're also doing a disservice to the Canadian economy, because $150 billion is quite a large sum. They are also more likely than their male counterparts to create social and environmental ventures rather than economic ones. And women entrepreneurs are typically active participants in those UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that I previously mentioned. Looking at some of the barriers that we had identified throughout the report, as we mentioned, we know that women entrepreneurs face increased barriers in accessing financing and capital, and they're also less likely to get approved for bank loans and applications. It was also shared in our State of Women Entrepreneurship launch that the average amount of financing authorized for men-owned businesses is approximately 150% higher than for women-owned businesses. And even when approved, women are typically charged higher interest rates. There's a lot of predatory lending. They receive smaller loans and are asked to disclose more information compared to majority men-owned businesses. Our research also shows that systemic discrimination, gender stereotypes, and a lack of gender disaggregated data in the financial sector acts as a barrier to women. We can also see this in venture capital, which has been a hot topic recently. Access to venture capital, we know that in 2020, women-owned businesses received only 2.3% of all VC financing, which is an astounding number, 2.3%. So you can see the importance of women-led businesses having access to these opportunities and the appropriate training and understanding of how to pitch and access VC capital. But we also can identify that there's a strong gender bias in the pitching process when women are going for VC capital, where investors tend to favor pitches presented by men entrepreneurs over women. I have heard stories from women entrepreneurs in my network that they have hired men outside of their company or brought men from within the company to pitch their business instead of them doing it themselves, because they're quite aware of this bias. And I just think that's so sad to think that you have to have someone else pitch your business for you because you're worried about the bias that you're going to have when standing in front of a group of investors. Access to counseling and training, we know that that's roughly the same between men and women entrepreneurs. However, we do see a big gap in the access to incubators and accelerators, where only 42% of women are supported by business accelerators compared to 93% of men. So again, thinking about when we're creating incubators and accelerators, how can we be more inclusive to women entrepreneurs, and what supports do they specifically need to make them feel more welcome in those spaces? So I mentioned a little bit about women entrepreneurs in Canada, or women entrepreneurs in Alberta, again, really leading the way at 7.4% of self-employed women in 2021. However, we do perceive that knowledge is a barrier here in Alberta, where 49.7% of women are much less likely than 67% of men to think that they have the necessary knowledge to start a business. So I'm sure that you've all heard that story where a woman will only apply for a job if she's 150% qualified. Sometimes men will apply when they only meet a few of the qualifications. I think that's a pretty standard story that we've all heard. And I think this is just a reflection of that in the entrepreneurship and innovation space. Bias amongst funders also remains a huge challenge here in Alberta. And furthermore to that, we know that the financial services industry ranks third among Canadian industries for its level of diversity and leadership. Women still only make up 21% of directors in listed Canadian financial service firms. But it's not all bad news. There are some amazing recommendations, and I did talk about some of the amazing growth that we've seen over the past few years for women entrepreneurs across Canada. And we do have many solutions and recommendations to move forward to create a more inclusive ecosystem in regards to entrepreneurship and innovation. So for example, we want to continue challenging those stereotypes and assumptions about women entrepreneurs and innovation. So when you think entrepreneurship, not thinking of Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, but thinking of Celine Dion or Kylie Jenner, who chose her family very well, but she's a billionaire at the age of 20. So thinking of changing how we think of entrepreneurs in general and really challenging those stereotypes. We also want to continue to collect that gender disaggregated, I'm having a hard time with that word today, disaggregated data, and apply a gender and diversity lens to government policies and programs. We can also create education and training and mentorship programs that can address the variable limiting access to finance and help women grow their businesses. It's also important that we continue to strengthen funding to support women and diverse entrepreneurs and to create more new opportunities for them. Continuing on that, we also believe that microfinance is important because it can help facilitate greater gender equity by creating low risk and low debt options for women. Our research shows that 58% of Canada's small business owners only start with $5,000 or less than $5,000. So due to their small size, women business owners often need loans that are proportional to their operations and prospective revenue, with reimbursement policies that account for their personal circumstances. We believe that microfinancing can respond to this individual need and challenge to better facilitate organizational growth. I know that many financial institutions have said, well, women tend to be risk averse and they're worried about repayment, but partner organizations such as Corellis, formerly CEO, has a 100% repayment rate with all of their women entrepreneurs and innovators. So microfinance, making financing more accessible to women entrepreneurs, very important in continuing to propel women in the entrepreneurial and innovation spaces. We also know that procurement can be used as a strategic lever, and the Government of Canada has made a commitment to increase the participation of women-owned businesses in federal procurement from 10 to 15% by 2023, which is this year. So we will see how they do, I guess, in a few months when the year is up. That I feel like this whole year flew by. That's coming up quick. But there are programs that aim to advance the opportunities for diverse women entrepreneurs. For instance, there's the procurement strategy for Indigenous businesses, which is a national initiative from Indigenous Services Canada that increases federal contracting opportunities and improves access to federal procurement processes for Indigenous businesses. However, supplier diversity still tends to be a problem. It's not a widely adopted practice in Canada. We know that in a study conducted by the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion, that it was reported that among 242 Canadian organizations, which included nonprofit, government, public sector, healthcare, education, and for-profit companies, only 39.1% of those companies had implemented a supplier diversity initiative. So specifically, only 51% of private sector enterprises were implementing supplier diversity programs, and a mere 21% of public sector and private sector in the public sector. So it's time that organizations in the public and private sectors begin shifting away from good intentions and moving towards putting our money where it matters and utilizing our buying power. So I briefly mentioned that WEKH supports training and capacity building. We encourage organizations to support and promote different initiatives such as the 50-30 challenge, which calls on organizations to promote organizations to implement gender parity and significant representation of other equity deserving groups on boards and or in senior management positions. You can sign up for the 50-30 program on the website, on the Government of Canada's website. I can definitely share that link afterwards if you're interested in learning more. It is free to join, I'll mention that. We want to continue to focus on building capacity among women entrepreneurs with programs and training such as financial literacy, digital skills, and procurement, for example. And we should also work with business support organizations to encourage women entrepreneurs, including self-employed women, to put business structures in place. So incorporating your business, getting a business number or a business-specific bank account will help facilitate future growth and help you access more opportunities, resources, more opportunities and resources here in the ecosystem. We also know that entrepreneurial skills are essential and offer pathways to employment as well as business success, especially for marginalized women. So more training opportunities for marginalized women in regards to entrepreneurial skills. But I will note there are so many organizations out there already doing amazing work. And WEKH, we're really not looking to reinvent the wheel. We see ourselves as a B2B connector. So we do support this training and capacity building, and we are really, really happy to promote and support our partner organizations in Alberta and throughout the country that are working to provide this training and help launch women into the next stage of their business, no matter what that looks like. But WEKH does offer various resources and tools as well. I did mention we do a lot of research. We do a lot of research, and it addresses a number of different angles on entrepreneurship, as well as the experiences of women entrepreneurs. Here's just some of the examples of the recent reports that we've been able to put out through our partner organizations, through the Diversity Institute. As I mentioned, we recently launched our State of Women Entrepreneurship report in 2023. I'll provide a link for that at the end. I definitely encourage you to read it and find out what research and data reveal about the landscape for women entrepreneurs and how the whole of government approach to Canada's unique women entrepreneurship strategy is supporting diverse women entrepreneurs. So yes, just some examples here. These are all available on our website, which I'll include the link at the end. And this is always my favorite slide to present. This is our See It, Be It campaign. And the See It, Be It campaign was implemented to help us challenge stereotypes and make sure that more women entrepreneurs are represented in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So this database now includes over 1,800 successful and diverse women entrepreneurs working across the country and across all different sectors. You may see some familiar faces on there. If not, I highly recommend you go and take a look at that database and familiarize yourself with some of the incredible entrepreneurs and innovators out there. And if you are a woman entrepreneur or diverse entrepreneur, or you know of someone that you think should be on this database, please, we recommend that you nominate them. There's an option to do that on our website when you're taking a look at the database. And we would absolutely love to feature more incredible women entrepreneurs in this database and show that if you can see it, you can be it. We also host a variety of different events and workshops. Here are just some examples of ones that we've been able to host with our partner organizations, such as BDC, WEKH, EDC is on there, I believe. And you can sign up for our newsletter. I would highly recommend, if you're interested in attending any of our in-person or virtual events, sign up for our bi-weekly newsletter. You can do so on the website as well. It's just at the bottom of the page. And we send that out bi-weekly, as I mentioned, and it highlights all of the things happening at WEKH and also opportunities from our partner organizations. As I mentioned, we have over 250 organizations across Canada that we work quite closely with. And I am actually in the process of working with our communications team to put together an Alberta specific section for that newsletter. So if you're interested in receiving those emails and learning more about what we have going on, please be sure to sign up for that. We also are very engaged in social media. So active on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Please, again, follow us on social media if you're interested in learning more about events. We're also always reposting what our partner organizations are up to. So it's a great way to keep up to date with what's available in the ecosystem and other opportunities that are coming your way. Lastly, I'll just mention the WEKH sharing platform. So this was a platform that we collaborated with the Forum for Women Entrepreneurs to create. And it's available in French and English. It is a free platform, a web-based platform to use, so you don't need an app to use it. And the intention is that it connects women entrepreneurs and support organizations so we can harness knowledge, draw expertise from one another, and share opportunities in our own learnings in a one-stop shop, basically. So if you have something to ask, post it on the platform and we do our best to respond to it, or one of our ecosystem partners may reach out to you. Also, if you have something to give, if you're hosting a webinar or you're looking for maybe someone to participate in a free workshop so you can get some feedback, just as an example, you're always welcome to post those gives on the platform as well. So great way to connect with the community and directly with the organizations that are supporting women entrepreneurs. So here are some of the links that I had mentioned. That's our website, wekh.ca. Feel free to take a screenshot of this. I'll also be sure to share the slides afterwards. So if you didn't get something down, don't worry, I will make sure that you have it. We also have the link to the sharing platform there. On our website, you can access all of the reports that I mentioned, the See It, Be It database. We also have our resources tab, which will link you to all of the ecosystem partners that we work with and our ecosystem mapping. So something we've really been working on this year is doing a holistic review of all of the opportunities, organizations, and supports available in the ecosystem and compiling them into a large database. So you should be able to filter down by region, by what you're specifically looking for. So for example, financing. There's even some more specific functions such as Indigenous opportunities or youth opportunities, for example. So highly recommend checking that out if you're looking for something specific. But of course, always feel free to reach out to me too if you have questions about who's doing what in the ecosystem. I'm always happy to act as that B2B connector and try and get you connected with whoever you need to help you be successful. And yeah, we also have other tools on there. We have a procurement guide, so many things on the website. So I highly recommend you check it out, take your time. And again, if you have questions, you can always reach out. So that is all that I have to share today. I mean, all that I have to share. I know that it's quite a lot of information all at once. But of course, always happy to have a conversation. There is my contact information there if you want to send me an email after this call or at a later date. We also have all of WEKH's social medias on the right-hand side of the page. Highly recommend that you follow us and just keep up to date with what we're up to. And yeah, so happy to be here presenting. I hope that I left some room or some time for questions.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Kara. We definitely have room for questions. So if anyone has any questions, please drop them in the chat or feel free to unmute.
Hi, Kara. Really great presentation. The thing that really stuck out for me in that presentation was the 2.3% of VC funding in 2020. Do you have any data on like going forward, like 2021, 2022? Is that getting better, or do you have anything to add on that? Or
that's a great question. I don't have the stats on me right now from the previous reports. From what I understand, it doesn't seem to be a promising number at this point. There's obviously a lot of room for growth. 2.3% is such a low number. So yeah, I could definitely get you those actual stats from the previous reports. Unfortunately, I don't have them on hand.
No, it's more just curiosity. I mean, I'm in contact with some female founders that are, I mean, they're just kind of getting off the ground. They're just kind of maybe thinking about getting some funding. Wow, I just didn't think it would be that low. I didn't think it would be 2.3%.
For sure. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of work to do, but there are a lot of great organizations out there working to increase access to financing, also working with women to work on their pitches and opportunities to practice what that would look like in those settings. So they have that experience going into the room. And yeah, we're hoping to see better numbers in the future because, like I said, lots of room for growth there. But as I mentioned, microfinance and just increasing access to financing for women entrepreneurs is going to be so vital in going forward and making sure that we're creating this inclusive innovation ecosystem that I've been talking about.
Of course.
Yeah, just a quick note on the microfinance bit. We don't talk about microfinancing enough in the tech sector, and it's a viable way to get to an MVP. We have Momentum offers microloans to entrepreneurs as well as a local resource for microloans. Sorry, that just was a great reminder of the power of microfinance.
Yes,
Jen?
thank you for sharing that.
That was kind of actually my question, Bridget, is where do we see avenues for microfinance opportunities? Just as a agency funded by the government, I know that our funding cannot necessarily be used for that for this round, but do you have any kind of ideas on, you know, what opportunities would be best suitable for microfinancing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you know what? I would love to connect you with my colleague, Shannon Peston. Shannon actually co-leads the Alberta strategy with me, and she is a whiz when it comes to the financial sector. She's actually our senior advisor of banking and finance here at WEKH. So I'm happy to get you connected with her if you have more questions about that. But I know there are a lot of organizations, private organizations, that are working to make microfinancing more accessible. I'm not quite sure how the financial institutions are doing that at this point. I know that there have been some opportunities for smaller grants and also some under 10,000, under 5,000 loans, but it's still pretty new in the process, I think. But Shannon could definitely speak more to that. She's got so many connections, and like I said, happy to send a connecting email if that interests you.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. Thank you. And then I have one more question, if that's okay. And Bridget and I have been working on this for a while, but when it comes to biases, understanding that we can train or teach the entrepreneur to, go and pitch and be on that stage, but how are we teaching the judges and the VCs? It's something that we're constantly wondering, how are we educating the other side?
Great question. Yeah. And I think that that's something that our research and the data and information that we're trying to share with the ecosystem can help as well. Because I think for a lot of people who don't experience these challenges and barriers, particularly don't understand them all the time. And just being able to see these numbers and have a report, have this in writing saying this is a problem and we do see these biases, and like only 2.3% of VC funding went to women last year. I think when folks can see those numbers and see something tangible like that, it makes it real for them. And we do provide a lot of recommendations in our report as well for how organizations can better provide training, better support women entrepreneurs. But I think the first step is really understanding what those barriers and challenges look like. And again, changing stereotypes. So we really want to make sure that when, again, people think about entrepreneur, or if you Google entrepreneur, it's not going to be, the same 50 people that you're used to seeing on the news all the time, because that's not an accurate representation of what innovation is. We need to change that stereotype and change people's perception of entrepreneurship in general. So I think, research is really the first step to that. And then hoping that organizations build in more capacity, more learning and training, so folks can develop their capacity to better promote and amplify women entrepreneurs. I hope that answered your question a little bit. Yes. I know there are organizations out there working to change it, but I really do think it starts with challenging those stereotypes and understanding where we are in the ecosystem. And as I mentioned, there's been exceptional growth over the last few years, which is so promising. And we hope that it'll just continue to grow over the next few years. And hopefully next time I'm presenting on this information, a year or two from now, I'll have even better stats to share.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks for that conversation. I was speaking to the Banff Venture Forum this morning. They're offering us a discount on tickets to their forum in Banff in October. So we'll have that circulated as soon as we have it. But let's show up and challenge the conversation where and when we can. Pete, we might just move into a quick breakout so we have time for one before the announcements at 5:02. So sorry, Amber, I thought I just jump in there. So we can get at least one breakout in. We don't want to have a full hour without giving time for building connections and everyone to kind of share their voice and thoughts on the topic. So we'll have one quick round and then we'll come back for announcements and to wrap things up. So I can't build breakout rooms because I'm not logged in as a co-host. So I'm gonna, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Awesome. So I'll be back in 5 or 6-ish. Hi. Thanks so much, Kara, for joining us and for WEKH and for Shannon's support in the background, Shannon Peston's support in the background on this. A quick note and announcement. First note here is that Shannon Peston, through her own consulting company, is going to be supporting us on the Rainforest project, which we've now kicked off kind of what the survey will look like as far as rolling it out across Calgary and Edmonton immediately in the new year. So it's super exciting to have her on board and helping us delve more into the diversity and inclusion aspects of the ecosystem. So thank you, Kara. I know you're accessible to us all through the info you left there. So great to have this connection now built with WEKH and the Rainforest more substantially. We'll go into community announcements. Eager Beaver, Peter. Well, you're muted.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And this dovetails into that very nicely because Kara and Sarah from Collectively Tangled are two entrepreneur women, and they're putting on a mental health wellness for entrepreneurs series over the next little while. So on October 19th, we're getting together for an in-person meeting. We're serving a snack and 2 hours of how to build mental resilience as an entrepreneur. So boys and girls are welcome, but come on out. It should be a very interesting series. And this is something maybe we could even post onto your website, Kara.
Yes, yeah, thank you for sharing. Definitely, I just pulled up their website and always happy to share opportunities with the ecosystem. So yeah, always feel free to send me something and I'll do my best to promote it. But I'm checking out the website right now and I'll definitely be sharing it through my socials.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's a great resource. Happy you guys are all doing that. Anyone else for community announcements before we wrap up?
Yeah, I have a quick one. If you are around in Calgary tomorrow, Startup Canada is coming. Startup Canada Tour is coming to Calgary tomorrow. We have a discount code for a 20% discount. I put it in the chat. So use that at the checkout. We may also have a couple free tickets. If you're interested in those, check out our LinkedIn page at Rainforest Alberta. There's a little bit of a contest and it ends tonight. So, maybe check that out. If not, oh, and look, Kara's speaking. So definitely come. You get another chance to connect, but in person. So it'll be awesome.
Yes, please come say hi. I'll be at the WEKH booth, except when I'm on stage. So come say hi to me if you're there.
We will. And I think the contest is for founders exclusively. Am I right, Amber? Or...
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Anyway, cool. So I think on that note, unless there's anyone else who'd like to share, Monica, who I got to meet last week, welcome Monica to Lunch the Lunch. She's just done a soft launch, which I think she shared in the chat. I saw briefly as I was driving around her new meetup. Do you want to chat to it really quickly?
Yeah, I just did a soft launch, should have the new event and the actual website launched by the next 2 weeks. And the focus is just to help people network. So I'm going to be hosting fun activities. It's not going to be panels, no presentations, no nothing. So we're going to go like playing volleyball, board games, cooking class, whatever it is. So people can learn how to connect, because that's a question that I get a lot on how to network. So that should be coming up soon.
I love that. Bond over some commonality like food or fun, because we all love those things. Awesome. Great. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next week.